The story begins with a man named Bagman. The legend of Bagman had been whispered in hushed tones for generations, a ghostly figure cloaked in mystery and terror. Though he appeared human at first glance, his cold, lifeless eyes and unnervingly still movements betrayed his otherworldly nature. Known for his horrifying signature act, Bagman would creep into towns and villages, snatching away children to stuff them into his enchanted, unescapable bag filled with jagged stones and shards. No one truly knew what happened to his victims inside the bag, but one thing was certain: they were never seen again. The story begins on a seemingly ordinary day. A young girl and her father are at a park, sharing a moment of joy. The father notices his daughter's smile fading, replaced by an expression of unease. Sensing something is wrong, he gently asks her, "What's on your mind, sweetheart? You've been quieter than usual lately. Your mom and I are here for you always." The girl hesitates, her small fingers tracing patterns in the dirt. Finally, she says, "It's nothing, Papa, just memories from before. Sometimes they scare me." Hoping to brighten her mood, the father offers, "Let's grab some pizza. Wait in the car, and I'll be right back." As the girl walks toward the car, dusk begins to fall. The streetlights flicker erratically, casting long, dancing shadows across the ground. She feels a chill creep up her spine as the air grows unnaturally still. Inside the car, the darkness seems heavier than usual. Minutes stretch into what feels like hours, and her father doesn't return. Feeling uneasy, she decides to check the pizzeria. As she steps inside, the bell above the door jingles, but the place is eerily silent. Tables are overturned and faint scratch marks trail along the walls. In the back room, she finds her father lying on the floor, motionless, his eyes wide with terror. Before she can scream, a shadow looms over her, a tall figure with hollow eyes and an unsettlingly calm demeanor. It's Bagman. He seizes her effortlessly, his strength far beyond human. Her cries for help are muffled as she's dragged toward the enchanted bag, which seems to pulsate with a dark, malevolent energy. The last thing she hears is the bag's zipper closing, sealing her fate. Years later, the story shifts to a new family in a quiet, wooded neighborhood. Patrick, a hard-working timber engineer, lives with his wife Karina and their son, a cheerful little boy with a curious streak. One evening, as the family enjoys a meal, Patrick's brother and Karina's sister visit for a catch-up. Patrick proudly demonstrates a new timber-cutting machine he's invented, explaining its potential to revolutionize the family business. His brother listens intently, but an unspoken tension lingers in Patrick's demeanor. As night falls, Patrick steps outside to take out the trash. The familiar hum of crickets is interrupted by the faint sound of rustling in the nearby woods. He brushes it off, but as he turns to go back inside, the house lights flicker, plunging the yard into momentary darkness. For a split second, he thinks he sees a figure standing between the trees, but when the lights stabilize, nothing is there. Shaking his head, he dismisses it as his imagination. The next day, Patrick works at the old family timber yard, which holds bittersweet memories of his late father. His brother notices Patrick staring at an old tool shed and asks, "You okay?" Patrick hesitates before replying, "I've been having these dreams again. Nightmares, really. About that cave near the old cabin where we used to play as kids. Remember the man with the key?" His brother shivers at the memory. Years ago, while exploring the cave, Patrick had encountered a strange man who had inexplicably cut a lock of his hair before vanishing. The event had haunted Patrick ever since. Back home, Karina focuses on her freelance work while their son plays in the living room. When she looks up to check on him, he's gone. Panicking, she searches the house and then the yard, calling his name. She finally finds him standing at the edge of the forest, staring at a small wooden doll lying in the grass. Relieved but unsettled, she scolds him gently and brings him back inside. That night, she tells Patrick about the incident, but he dismisses it as a child's innocent curiosity. However, the strange occurrences escalate. Objects from Patrick's childhood, items he thought were long lost, begin appearing in the house. A wooden owl he carved as a boy shows up on the mantle. A small flute, eerily familiar, is found in the toy chest. Their son begins talking about a friend he sees in his room, but when asked to describe this friend, his words are chilling. He has a big bag, and he's waiting. Patrick was deeply concerned when he noticed his son's flute was missing. He distinctly remembered placing it on a box but found it nowhere in sight. His first thought was that it might have been misplaced, so he searched every corner of the house. When his search yielded no results, Patrick started to suspect that someone had thrown it away. In a desperate attempt, he even rummaged through the garbage, but the flute was nowhere to be found. Frustrated and unable to solve the mystery, Patrick decided to call it a night and went to his room to sleep. Later that night, Patrick's phone alarm rang unexpectedly, startling him awake. He couldn't recall setting an alarm for this time, and it felt out of place. As he got up to investigate, his eyes were drawn to the shed outside. The door was wide open, swaying slightly in the breeze. Confused and uneasy, Patrick decided to check it out. Grabbing a flashlight, he made his way to the shed. Upon reaching, he saw nothing unusual inside. However, he quickly shut the door to prevent any potential intruders and went back inside, trying to shake off the eerie feeling creeping up on him. Just as Patrick settled back into bed, he heard faint yet distinct noises coming from his backyard. It sounded like something metallic scraping against the concrete. Intrigued and a little nervous, Patrick peeked out of the window. To his shock, he saw a shadowy figure, cloaked in darkness, holding what appeared to be the flute. Patrick becomes extremely anxious. He hurriedly smashes the glass on the door, unlocks it, and rushes inside. Without wasting time, he goes straight to his wife and son to ensure their safety. Upon inspecting the house, he finds no one there, leaving him puzzled. Still terrified, Patrick decides to contact the police the next day. The officer suggests installing security cameras around the house and asks, "Has anything gone missing?" Patrick replies hesitantly, "Yes, my son's flute. He used to play it often." The officer reassures him, saying, "Don't worry, we'll keep an eye on your house." But Patrick can't shake off his uneasiness. He shares his concerns with his brother, saying, "Whatever tricks I played in childhood seem to be haunting me now. Even the hat I always wore is missing, but I can't figure out who's behind this." That night, Patrick experiences a series of disturbing dreams. He dreams of a strange man snatching his son away, which reminds him of a childhood memory. Once, while walking with his father near a cave, his dad had warned him, "Legend has it that a mysterious Bagman resides in this cave. He kidnaps well-behaved children." Young Patrick had dismissed it as a scare tactic to keep him disciplined. His father, however, insisted, "It's true, son. That's why I want you to be cautious." Haunted by these memories, Patrick consults a psychologist, who diagnoses him with sleep deprivation and assures him that these fears stem from his imagination. She advises him to rest and even suggests relocating temporarily for peace of mind. Patrick and Karina decide to stay in a hotel while sending their son to Karina's sister's house for safety. One evening, while Karina's sister watches over the child, the lights begin flickering. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, and standing outside is the Bagman himself. Terrified, Karina's sister grabs a knife and hides with the child in a closet. The Bagman finds them, but in a moment of desperation, she attacks him with the knife, injuring him enough to escape. Patrick, Karina, and the rescue team arrive just in time. Although shaken, Karina's sister and the child survive. Patrick decides to move his family to his brother's house, hoping it will be safer. But the Bagman doesn't stop. One night, while everyone is asleep, Patrick dreams of the Bagman reaching his son. Awakening in a panic, he rushes to his son's room only to discover the child missing. To his horror, Patrick finds his brother and sister-in-law lifeless, and the police outside the house slain. Realizing the Bagman must have taken his son, Patrick follows the trail to the infamous cave. Inside, he discovers candles, nests filled with children's belongings, and a doll emitting his son's cries. Realizing it's a trap, Patrick smashes the doll in anger. The Bagman appears, attacking Patrick. Paralyzed by fear, Patrick remembers the knife his father had given him as a child. He uses it to fend off the Bagman but is eventually overpowered. As Karina and the police arrive, they find Patrick's belongings near the cave but no sign of him. The Bagman has vanished, taking Patrick with him, leaving only the eerie tale of the cave and its haunting legacy. As the story unfolds, we learn something chilling from Patrick's past. When Patrick was a child, his father once mentioned that the Bagman had a peculiar preference. He only sought out small, beautiful children to take with him. But there was a darker twist. The Bagman wouldn't snatch children right away. If a child caught his attention, he'd first cut a lock of their hair, marking them as his. From that moment on, he would never lose sight of them no matter how much they grew up. Years could pass, but the Bagman would wait patiently, and when the moment was right, he'd strike, putting them into his sack and taking them away forever. This revelation ties everything together. It wasn't Patrick's son the Bagman wanted, it was Patrick himself. The Bagman had chosen Patrick when he was a child, keeping him under watch all these years. He even cut Patrick's hair back then, sealing his fate. Even though Patrick grew up, the Bagman never gave up, and on that fateful night, he came not for Patrick's son, but for Patrick. Finally, he succeeded in taking him away forever. With this haunting realization, the film ends on a sorrowful and spine-chilling note.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest uploads. Thank you for your support.